The gentle hum of the ship's engines filled the command center of the Horizon Dawn, Commander. Daniel Wright stood with his hands clasped behind his back, eyes fixed on the main screen. It showed a breathtaking but terrible sight, the slow death of the Andromeda Galaxy. Great swirls of stars were being pulled into a central point, like water down a drain. Colors that should never exist together blazed across the void as entire solar systems collapsed. Quite a view, isn't it? Daniel said to no one in particular. Lieutenant Christopher Allen approached and stood beside him. Scientists are calling it the most significant cosmic event in recorded history. We're getting requests from research vessels all over Alliance. Space for permission to cross the boundary, Daniel nodded. The Alliance had established clear borders around human-controlled space after the Proxima conflict. Crossing these boundaries required special permission, especially when heading toward potentially unstable regions. Approve the requests from the science vessels, Daniel said. But make sure they stay in the observation zone. No one goes past the marker buoys without direct orders from Alliance Command. Christopher made a note on his tablet. Yes, sir. The command center hummed with quiet activity. Crew members monitored sensors, checked system reports, and maintained communication with the small fleet of ships under Daniel's command. The Horizon Dawn was a border patrol vessel, not a warship or explorer. Its job was simple: maintain the boundary, observe, and report. Communications Officer Olivia Pearson suddenly straightened in her chair. Her fingers moved quickly across her console as she adjusted something. Commander, I'm picking up a signal. It's not from any of our ships or the science vessels. Daniel turned. Alliance? No, sir. It's not using any known human frequencies. Olivia's brow furrowed in concentration. It's not matching any species in our database either. The command center fell silent. First contact protocols were clear, but rare enough that every crew member knew this moment could define their careers. Can you clean it up? Daniel asked, moving to stand behind Olivia's station. Working on it. She adjusted settings, filtered out background noise from the dying galaxy, and slowly a voice emerged through the static. ... request assistance ... survivors only. They hunt us ... please ... The voice sounded strange, as if several people were speaking at once, with a musical quality that seemed impossible for a single throat to produce. Full translation. Daniel ordered. Science Officer Lisa Winters moved to her station and linked her systems with communications, running it through all known linguistic patterns. After a few moments, the message clarified. This is a distress call from the last vessels of the Lumen people. We request assistance from any civilization capable of hearing this message. We are survivors only. They hunt us through the stars. The Void Harbingers consume our worlds. Please help. We are peaceful. We cannot fight. Is anyone listening? Daniel felt a chill run down his spine. Location? Sam Garcia, the tactical officer, pulled up a map on the main screen. Signal is coming from here, sir. Just beyond the boundary, near the edge of the collapsing arm of Andromeda? That's outside our patrol zone, Christopher reminded him. Protocol says we report this to Alliance Command and wait for instructions. Daniel nodded slowly. Send the report? But keep the channel open with the ... lumen. Lisa looked up from her station. Commander, I'm analyzing the signal composition. It's extraordinary. The transmission itself contains complex biological markers. It's as if they're sending pieces of themselves through the communication. Explain, Daniel said. Their biology appears to be light-based. Not just dependent on light, actually composed of it, somehow contained in physical form. Lisa's eyes were wide with excitement. If I'm reading this correctly, they can transfer biological information through simple communication. The healing implications alone would be revolutionary for human medicine. Olivia adjusted her earpiece. They're transmitting again, sir. The strange, musical voice filled the command center once more. We detect your reception of our message. We are grateful. The Void Harbingers approach our position. They consume our light. They harvest our essence. We have knowledge to share, gifts of healing. We ask only for protection. We are the last 10,000 of once billions. Engineer Jack Miller spoke up from his station near the back. Commander, if what Lisa says is true about their biology, these people could help us cure diseases we've never been able to touch. Cancer, neural degeneration, radiation poisoning, ... Christopher lowered his voice. Sir, may I remind you of the Centauri incident? Human intervention in a non-human conflict led to diplomatic crises that lasted decades. Daniel paced slowly across the command center. Every officer watched him, waiting for his decision. Response from Alliance Command, Olivia announced. They're ordering us to maintain position and take no action until a diplomatic team can be assembled. Estimated arrival time is 72 hours. Sam looked up from tactical. Sir, based on the movement patterns I'm detecting near the Lumen ships, they don't have 72 hours? Daniel stopped pacing. He looked at the massive swirl of the dying galaxy on the main screen, then at the small blinking light that represented the Lumen vessels. Lisa, what exactly could their biology offer us? Lisa didn't hesitate. If I'm right, their ability to transfer biological information could revolutionize our understanding of medicine. Diseases we consider untreatable could be cured. Injuries we think permanent could be healed. It would change everything, Daniel nodded slowly. And these void harbingers' tactical assessment? Sam shook his head. Limited data, sir, but the Lumen ships are moving in evasive patterns consistent with being hunted. There are larger objects pursuing them, absorbing all sensor data I try to bounce off them. It's like they're black holes with engines. Daniel made his decision, set course to the Lumen coordinates. Christopher stiffened. Sir, that's a direct violation of orders. Note your objection in the log, Lieutenant. Daniel's voice was firm. Then set the course. The boundary protocols? Christopher began. Daniel cut him off. Sometimes the boundary needs to be crossed. Chris, he turned to address the entire command center. I'm not ordering anyone to follow me over that line. This is my decision, and I'll accept the consequences. If any officer wishes to formally object, now is the time. The command center remained silent. Christopher finally nodded. Course laid in, Commander, crossing the boundary in 3 minutes. Daniel returned to the main view screen, watching as the ship moved toward the blinking light of the Lumen vessels. Prepare defensive systems, but keep weapons powered down, he ordered. We're going to introduce ourselves to the Lumen, and then we're going to stand between them and these harbingers. The Horizon Dawn's engines hummed louder as the ship accelerated. Behind them, the boundary markers fell away, blinking their warning. Signals into empty space. Ahead lay unknown territory, a dying galaxy, and a test of what humanity truly stood for at the edge of explored space. The Horizon Dawn moved through space toward the coordinates of the distress signal. The dying galaxy painted strange colors across the command center view screen. Daniel watched as the distance counter ticked down. 2 minutes to visual contact. Sam announced from the tactical station. Olivia pressed her hand to her earpiece. Commander, I'm receiving more transmissions. The Lumen sound ... Put it through, Daniel ordered. The musical voice filled the command center again, but now it trembled with fear. They are here. The harbingers have found us. Please, if anyone is coming, hurry. We cannot fight them. We cannot. The transmission cut off suddenly. Maximum speed, Daniel ordered. Defensive systems online. Christopher looked up from his station. Sir, we're picking up unusual energy readings ahead. Something is absorbing all light in that sector. The ship pushed forward and suddenly they could see it. A small group of crystalline vessels, glowing with inner light, fleeing from massive black ships that seemed to swallow the stars behind them. The black vessels were firing what looked like tendrils of darkness, pulling the smaller ships backward. Those must be the Lumen ships, Lisa said, pointing at the crystal vessels. Their entire structure appears to be semi-organic crystal housing light-energy beings. One of the crystalline ships was caught by a dark tendril. The crew watched in horror. As the ship's glow dimmed rapidly, the light being drained away. Tactical assessment, Daniel demanded. Sam's fingers flew across his console. The dark ships, presumably the Void Harbingers, are using some kind of energy drain weapon. They're literally sucking the light out of the Lumen vessels. And they're massive. Each one is at least 3 times our size. Daniel didn't hesitate. Move us between the Lumen and the Harbingers. Lisa, can you establish communication with the Lumen ships? Working on it now, Lisa replied. Her face was lit by the glow of her screen. Their communication systems are compatible with ours, but they use light pulses instead of radio waves. Adapting our transmitters. The Horizon Dawn accelerated, racing toward the battle. As they approached, one of the Lumen ships went completely dark, its crystal structure cracking and drifting apart in the vacuum. Too late for that one, Christopher said quietly. Daniel's jaw tightened. Not too late for the others. Sam, what weapons do we have that might work against ships that absorb energy? Sam thought for a moment. Conventional weapons might just feed them, sir, but if they absorb energy, targeted electromagnetic pulses might overload their systems. Do it, Daniel ordered. Target the 2 Harbingers closest to the remaining Lumen ships. The Horizon Dawn slid into position between the hunters and their prey. The black ships seemed to pause, as if confused by the newcomer. They're scanning us, Lisa reported. I think they're trying to determine if we're worth harvesting. Let's answer that question for them, Daniel said. Fire EMPs. Sam launched the electromagnetic pulse weapons. They streaked through space, invisible until they struck the first Harbinger ship. Blue lightning crackled across its surface. The second pulse hit moments later, causing the same reaction on the other vessel. Both Harbinger ships went into slow, uncontrolled spins. Direct hits, Sam reported. Their systems appeared to be temporarily disabled. The remaining Harbinger vessels paused their attack. Then, as if reaching a decision together, they turned and moved away, accelerating into the darkness. They're retreating, Christopher said, sounding surprised. For now, Daniel replied. Olivia, open a channel to the Lumen ships. Channel open, she confirmed. Daniel cleared his throat. This is Commander Daniel Wright of the Alliance vessel Horizon Dawn. We received your distress call and are here to offer assistance. There was a pause, then a response came through. Instead of the musical voice they had heard before, pulses of light appeared on the main screen, forming patterns. Lisa, what are we looking at? Daniel asked. It's their natural communication method, Lisa explained, watching the patterns with fascination. I'm running it through our translation matrix now. The pulses reorganized into words on the screen. We are grateful. You saved many lives. The Harbingers will return with more ships. They always do. I am Radiance, elder of our remaining people. Can we dock with their vessels? Daniel asked it. Christopher shook his head. Their ships don't have standard docking mechanisms, but he studied his console. There's a large enough cargo bay on the lead Lumen ship. We could send a shuttle. Daniel nodded. Prepare a shuttle. I want to meet these people face to face. He turned to Lisa. You're with me. Your expertise in xenobiology will be valuable. Commander, Christopher objected. Protocol states that you should remain on the ship during first contact situations. Daniel smiled slightly. We're already well past protocol, Lieutenant. You have command until I return. The shuttle bay was quiet as Daniel and Lisa prepared to depart. They were joined by Engineer Jack Miller, who had volunteered to assess the Lumen ship's damage, and Security Officer William Howard, who insisted on accompanying the Commander Dot as they boarded the shuttle. Olivia's voice came through Daniel's. Communicator. Sir, we're receiving transmissions from Alliance Command. They're not happy about our boundary crossing. Tell them we've made first contact with a new species under attack, and will file a full report after securing their safety. Daniel replied. The shuttle launched from the Horizon Dawn and approached the largest Lumen vessel. As they drew near, they could see that the crystal hull was semi-transparent, with light flowing through channels like blood through veins. It's beautiful, Lisa whispered. The shuttle entered an opening in the crystal ship that closed behind them like water. They landed gently in a chamber filled with soft, golden light. Atmosphere reads as breathable, Jack confirmed, checking his instruments. Temperature normal, no detectable toxins. Daniel nodded. Let's meet our new friends. They stepped out of the shuttle into the light-filled chamber. The walls pulsed with gentle colors. Then before them, the light gathered and condensed, forming humanoid shapes. 3 figures stood there, made entirely of golden light contained. Within a thin crystal shell that resembled glass, the tallest figure stepped forward. Its face had no features except for brighter points where eyes might be. When it spoke, the entire body pulsed with light patterns. I am Radiance, the translation. Came through their communicators. You risked yourselves for strangers. Why? Daniel stepped forward. Because you needed help. That's what humans do. Radiance's light pulsed. The Void Harbingers have hunted us across 3 star systems. We were billions, now we are thousands. They consume our essence for energy. Why don't you fight back? William asked. We cannot create harm, Radiance answered. Our biology prevents it. We heal, we build, we cannot destroy. The light being moved closer to Jack, who was coughing slightly. You are damaged. Before anyone could react, Radiance reached out and touched Jack's chest. Light flowed from the being's hand into Jack's body. Jack gasped, his eyes wide with shock. What did you do to him? William demanded, reaching for his weapon. Jack held up his hand. Wait. He took a deep breath, then another. My lungs. I've had chronic breathing problems since childhood. They single quotes read ... Don. I can breathe perfectly. He looked at Radiance in wonder. You healed me. Radiance's light pulsed gently. It is what we do. Lisa stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overwhelming her caution. Your entire species can do this? Heal with a touch? Yes, Radiance answered. We offer this gift to your people. We ask only for protection from those who would consume us. Daniel's communicator beeped urgently. He answered it to hear Christopher's tense voice. Commander, we have a situation. Alliance enforcement vessels have just arrived. They're demanding we withdraw immediately, and they're specifically asking about the Lumen. Daniel's face hardened as he heard Christopher's message about the Alliance enforcement vessels. He looked at Radiance, whose light dimmed slightly as if sensing the trouble. We need to return to our ship immediately, Daniel told the Lumen leader. More human ships have arrived, but they may not be friendly. Lisa stepped forward. Commander, we can't just leave the Lumen. You saw what the Harbingers were doing to them. And their healing abilities. We're not abandoning them, Daniel said firmly. Radiance, can you and your leaders come with us to our ship? We need to talk about what happens next. Radiance's light pulsed in what seemed like agreement. I will come. 2 others will join us. The shuttle ride back to the horizon. Dawn was tense and silent. Radiance and 2 other lumens sat perfectly still, their light bodies pulsing gently within their crystal shells. Jack kept touching his chest, still amazed at his healed lungs. When they docked, Christopher was waiting for them. His eyes widened at the sight of the light beings, but he quickly focused on Daniel. Sir, the Alliance Dreadnought Judgment has taken position 5 kilometers off our starboard side. Admiral Grace Peterson is commanding. She's demanding to speak with you immediately, Daniel nodded. Take our guests to the conference room. I'll handle the Admiral. In the command center, Daniel straightened his uniform and nodded to Olivia. Put the Admiral through. The main screen flickered, and the stern face of Admiral Peterson appeared. Her gray hair was pulled back tightly, and her eyes were cold. Commander Wright, she said, her voice like ice. You have violated direct orders, crossed an established boundary, and interfered in a conflict between non-human species. These are serious offenses. Daniel stood tall. Admiral, we responded to a distress call from a peaceful species being hunted to extinction. The Lumen pose no threat to humanity. In fact, they possess remarkable healing abilities that could benefit us greatly. The Admiral's expression didn't change. Your job is not to make first contact or determine which aliens live or die, Commander. Your job is to patrol the boundary and follow orders. With respect, Admiral, I couldn't ignore— Enough, Peterson cut him off. You will surrender command of the Horizon Dawn immediately. You will hand over the aliens for processing. The Alliance has made its decision regarding this matter. Daniel frowned. Processing? What does that mean exactly? The Admiral's eyes narrowed. That's classified. Lieutenant Allen will assume command. You have 1 hour to comply, or we will take action. Peterson out. The screen went dark. Daniel stood still for a moment, then turned to Olivia. Contact my old friend Brandon Lewis on the communications staff at Alliance headquarters. Use the private channel. I need to know what's really going on here. Daniel found Christopher and the Lumen in the conference room. Lisa and Jack were there too, talking excitedly with the light beings. Commander, Lisa said as he entered, the Lumen have been showing us more of their abilities. They can transfer their light energy temporarily to power our technology. They've increased the efficiency of our medical bay equipment by 300% just by touching it. Daniel nodded, but his mind was elsewhere. Christopher, a word, please. In the corner of the room, Daniel kept his voice low. Something isn't right. The Admiral talked about processing the Lumen. I've never heard that term used for first contact protocols. Christopher looked troubled. I've served under Peterson before. She's a hardliner, but she's never been cruel. This doesn't sound like her. Daniel's communicator beeped. Right here. Olivia's voice came through. Sir, I have Brandon on the secure channel. He says it's urgent. Daniel and Christopher hurried back to the command center. Olivia transferred the call to Daniel's private office, where they could speak freely. Brandon's face appeared on the small screen, looking worried. Don, you've stepped into something big. The Alliance made a deal with those things hunting the light aliens, the Void Harbingers. Daniel felt cold. What kind of deal? The Harbingers have technology that can absorb and store massive amounts of energy. The Alliance wants it. In exchange, they agreed not to interfere with the Harbingers' activities in the dying galaxy. Daniel's fist clenched. They're letting the Harbingers hunt the Lumen to extinction for technology? Brandon nodded grimly. The agreement was made 6 months ago. Your rescue operation has put the Alliance in a difficult position. They can't be seen publicly allowing genocide, but they don't want to lose the Harbingers' technology either. So they'll make us disappear quietly, Christopher said, understanding dawning on his face. Exactly, Brandon confirmed. Be careful. Don, Peterson has orders to bring in the Lumen and silence your crew, by any means necessary. After the call ended, Daniel sat in silence for a moment, then he stood up. Get all senior officers to the conference room, now. When everyone was gathered, including the 3 Lumen visitors, Daniel explained the situation. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. So what do we do? Sam finally asked. We can't fight the entire Alliance. We don't have to fight the entire Alliance, Daniel replied. We just need to expose what they're doing. Olivia, can you broadcast on all Alliance frequencies simultaneously? She thought for a moment. Yes, but they'll shut it down quickly. That might be enough, Daniel said. Lisa, how are you and Jack coming with integrating the Lumen technology? Lisa straightened. We've made progress. The Lumen have shown us how their crystalline structures can amplify our ship's defensive capabilities. With their help, we've boosted our shields tenfold. Jack nodded enthusiastically. And engineer Nicole Bennett has discovered something amazing. The Lumen's light-based communication can be modified to temporarily disrupt the Harbinger's absorption. Abilities, Daniel turned to Radiance. Would your people be willing to help us fight? Not to kill, but to defend yourselves and us? Radiance's light pulsed. We cannot cause harm directly, but we can help those who protect us. We can share our light with your ships, make them stronger. Daniel addressed the room. I'm not ordering anyone to disobey Alliance commands. This is a volunteer mission now. If you want to transfer to the Judgment, I'll understand. William, the security chief, stood up. Humans protect those who cannot protect themselves. That's who we are. I'm staying. One by one, every officer in the room stood. No one chose to leave. Daniel nodded, a lump in his throat. Then we have work to do. We have less than 30 minutes before Peterson expects our surrender. Olivia's communicator beeped. She listened, then looked up with wide eyes. Sir, we're picking up multiple signatures approaching from the direction the Harbingers retreated to. It's a massive fleet, at least 100 ships. Sam checked his console. Confirmed. The Void Harbingers are returning in force. They'll be here in approximately 45 minutes. Daniel looked around the room at his crew, then at the Lumen whose light pulsed with what might have been fear. It seems we have 2 battles to fight, he said quietly. The command center of the Horizon Dawn buzzed with activity. Time was running out. Admiral Peterson would expect their surrender soon. And the Void Harbingers were approaching rapidly. Daniel stood at the center of it all, giving clear orders. Olivia, prepare the broadcast. Sam, coordinate with the Lumen ships to form a defensive position. Christopher, I need you to... Sir, Olivia interrupted. The Judgment is hailing us again. Daniel took a deep breath. Put her through. Admiral. Peterson's face appeared on the screen, her expression even harder than before. Your time is up, Commander Wright. Prepare to be boarded. Admiral, Daniel replied calmly, before you take any action, you should know that we've discovered the truth about your arrangement with the Void Harbingers. Peterson's face showed a flicker of surprise before returning to its stern mask. I don't know what you're talking about. The deal to trade the Lumen for Harbinger technology, Daniel continued. We have proof and we're prepared to broadcast it to every Alliance vessel in colony. The Admiral's eyes narrowed. You're bluffing. Olivia, Daniel nodded to his communications officer. Olivia pressed a series of controls. Broadcast ready, sir. Daniel turned back to the screen. This isn't a bluff, Admiral. I'm giving you a chance to do the right thing. The Harbingers are returning with a massive fleet. They'll be here in less than 45 minutes. We can fight them together, or you can try to stop us and face the consequences of your actions becoming public. For a long moment, Peterson was silent. Then she said, You have no idea what you're interfering with, right? The technology the Harbingers offered could solve humanity's energy crisis forever. At the cost of an entire species, Daniel replied. Is that who we are now? Is that what the Alliance stands for? Before Peterson could answer, Lisa rushed into the command center. Commander, the Lumen have shown us something incredible. They can temporarily transfer their essence to our systems. It's like nothing we've ever seen. Daniel kept his eyes on Peterson. Admiral, the Lumen can help us. Their abilities could benefit humanity far more than anything the Harbingers offered. And we don't have to commit genocide to get it. Peterson's jaw tightened. Stand down, right? That's a direct order. I can't do that, Daniel replied quietly. Olivia, broadcast now. Olivia pressed the final control. Broadcasting on all Alliance frequencies. Daniel spoke clearly, his voice going out to every Alliance ship and colony in range. This is Commander Daniel Wright of the Horizon Dawn. The Alliance has made a secret deal with a species known as the Void Harbingers, trading the lives of a peaceful race called the Lumen for energy absorption technology. I have proof of this agreement, which I'm transmitting now. The Lumen are being hunted to extinction with our government's knowledge and approval. This is not who we are. This is not what humanity stands for. As the evidence Brandon had provided was transmitted, Daniel continued. The Harbingers are approaching now with a massive fleet. We intend to defend the Lumen against this threat. I ask every ship captain listening, look at the evidence. Then decide what kind of alliance you want to serve. Peterson's face contorted with rage. You've just committed treason, right? Cut that broadcast immediately. But it was too late. The message had gone out. For a few moments, there was silence on the command center. Then Olivia's console began to light up. Sir, she said with wonder. In her voice, we're getting responses from Alliance vessels. The Defender, the Guardian, and the Protector have all broken formation with the Judgment. They're moving to support positions around us. More lights flashed on her console. The science vessels are responding too. They're offering assistance. Daniel looked back at Peterson, whose face had gone pale with fury. It seems not everyone agrees with your deal, Admiral. This isn't over, right? Peterson snarled. And cut the transmission. Sam called out from tactical. Sir, the Judgment is powering weapons. Shields up, Daniel ordered calmly. The Horizon Dawn shuddered as the first shots from the Judgment struck their shields. Shields holding, Sam reported with surprise. The lumen enhancements are working. Christopher looked at his console. The other Alliance ships are moving to position themselves between us and the Judgment. They're protecting us. Daniel allowed himself a small smile. Sometimes people just need to be reminded of who we are. He turned to Radiance, who had been observing quietly. Now we need to prepare for the Harbingers. The next 30 minutes were a blur of activity. The lumen from all the remaining ships volunteered to help enhance the human vessel's systems. Light beings moved through the corridors of the Horizon Dawn, touching equipment, merging temporarily with computer systems, strengthening shields and improving weapons. The ships that had broken away from Peterson's command formed a protective ring around the lumen vessels, with the Horizon Dawn at the center. The Judgment had withdrawn to a distance but remained watching. Harbinger fleet approaching, Sam announced. 30 ships, 50, still counting. The final count was 127 Void Harbinger vessels, far more than they had faced before. They emerged from what looked like a controlled rift in space, their black hulls swallowing the light around them. They must have called for reinforcements after our first encounter, Christopher said. Daniel nodded grimly. All ships battle positions. Remember, we're fighting to protect the Lumen, not for revenge. The Harbinger fleet approached slowly, as if assessing the human ships. Then, without warning, they attacked. Dark tendrils shot out from dozens of ships at once, aiming for the Lumen vessels at the center of the formation. Evasive maneuvers. Daniel ordered the human ships move to intercept the tendrils, their enhanced shields glowing where the darkness touched them. The battle was chaotic, with ships moving in 3 dimensions, firing weapons that seemed small against the massive. Harbinger vessels. The Horizon Dawn shuddered as a particularly strong tendril struck it directly. Warning lights flashed across the command center. Hull breach on Deck 5, Sam reported. Sealing emergency bulkheads. Daniel knew they couldn't last long against so many enemies. Lisa, is Nicole's disruption weapon ready? Lisa checked her console. Yes, but it has limited range. We'd need to get closer to the main Harbinger ships. Then that's what we'll do, Daniel decided. Sam, plot a course through their formation. Target the largest ships. Christopher looked alarmed. Sir, that's suicide. Daniel met his gaze steadily. Maybe, but if it gives the others time to escape with the Lumen, it's worth it. Before Christopher could argue further, the ship rocked violently. A massive explosion tore through the lower decks. Critical damage to engines and life support, Sam reported, his voice tight. We're losing power fast. Daniel made a quick decision. Evacuate the ship. Get everyone to the escape pods and shuttles. What about you? Christopher demanded. I'll stay and keep the defensive systems online as long as possible, Daniel replied. That's an order, Lieutenant. As the crew began to evacuate, Radiance approached Daniel. The light being seemed to study him for a moment. You will die if you stay, Radiance said simply. Daniel nodded. Probably. But my crew and your people might live? Radiance's light pulsed in a pattern Daniel hadn't seen before. There is another way. I can join with you. Join? Daniel didn't understand. Merge my essence with yours, Radiance explained. It has never been done with your kind before. It may save us both. It will certainly change us both. Daniel looked at the tactical display, showing the overwhelming Harbinger forces, then back at the light being. Will it help us stop them? Perhaps, Radiance replied. We will be something new. As the ship shuddered around them, Daniel made his choice. Do it! Radiance stepped forward and placed crystal hands on Daniel's shoulders. The light being's form began to dissolve, flowing into Daniel's body like water. Daniel gasped as warmth and light filled him from within. Light filled the command center of the dying. Horizon Dawn, the merging of Daniel and Radiance, created a brilliant flash that forced the few remaining crew members to shield their eyes. When they could see again, they gasped at what stood before them. Daniel's body remained, but his skin now glowed with golden light that moved beneath the surface like flowing water. His eyes shone with pure white radiance. When he spoke, his voice carried the musical quality of the lumen, layered with his human tones. "Get to the escape pods," the hybrid being said. "I can handle things from here." Christopher stared in amazement. "Daniel, is that still you?" "Yes and no," came the reply. "I am Daniel and I am Radiance. We are something new." The ship shuddered as another attack struck. The hybrid being placed his glowing hands on the ship's control panel. Light flowed from his fingers into the systems. Immediately, the emergency lights steadied, and the warning alarms quieted. "Go now," the merged entity urged. "I need to focus." Christopher hesitated, then nodded to the remaining crew. "You heard him. Everyone to the escape pods." As the last humans left the command center, the being that was once Daniel and Radiance closed his eyes. He could feel the ship's systems as extensions of himself now. More importantly, he could sense the void harbingers in a way neither human nor lumen could alone. The hybrid stretched out his awareness, reaching beyond the horizon dawn to the battlefield outside. What he discovered shocked him. The harbingers weren't simply hunters, they were refugees. Born from the galaxy's collapse, they fed on energy because they had to. They were scared and desperate, just like the lumen, using the ship's communication system, now enhanced by his lumen abilities. The hybrid being broadcast a signal that no human technology alone could create. The signal spread through space, touching every harbinger ship. It wasn't an attack, it was a message sent directly to their consciousness. Outside in space, the battle paused. The dark ships stopped their attack, hanging motionless among the stars. The Alliance vessels held their fire, waiting to see what would happen. On the evacuation shuttle, Olivia monitored communications. "Something's happening," she told the others. "The harbingers have stopped attacking. And look, they're receiving some kind of transmission from the horizon dawn." Lisa studied her scanner. "That signal, it's like nothing I've ever seen. It contains both lumen light patterns and what looks like harbinger dark energy signatures. Somehow they're communicating." Back on the horizon dawn, the hybrid being opened a channel to the Alliance ships. His glowing face appeared on their screens. "This is Daniel Wright and Radiance of the Lumen. I've made contact with the Void Harbingers. They are not our enemies. They are survivors of the galaxy's collapse. They feed on energy because they must to survive." Admiral Peterson, watching from the Judgment, scowled. "What happened to Wright? What is this creature?" "On the shuttle," Christopher answered quietly. "It's what happens when humans and lumen work." Together, the hybrid being continued. "I can redirect the galaxy's collapse. The harbingers will help. They understand now that we can find a solution that doesn't require extinction, theirs or the lumens." For 3 months, the combined fleet of human, lumen, and harbinger ships worked together at the edge of the dying galaxy. Scientists from all species collaborated, guided by the unique insights of the hybrid being. They built a massive device that could channel the energy of the collapse. Admiral Peterson, her previous orders forgotten after witnessing the cooperation between species, personally volunteered to lead the mission to deploy the device at the galaxy's core. "It's a one-way trip," the hybrid being warned her when she made her offer. "The gravitational forces will prevent any ship from returning." Peterson nodded grimly. "I need to make this right. My actions nearly caused the extinction of an entire species. This is how I can balance that debt." On the day of the mission, Peterson stood on the bridge of her ship, the device secured in the cargo hold. She addressed the gathered fleet. "Last time, the Alliance forgot what humanity stands for. We were willing to sacrifice others for our own gain. Today, I remind us all of our true purpose: to protect those who cannot protect themselves, to find solutions that don't come at the cost of innocent lives. Goodbye and good luck to you all." The Judgment entered the collapsing center of the galaxy, Peterson at the helm. The device activated, creating a contained implosion that pulled the destructive forces inward instead of outward. The remaining habitable worlds were saved. The Harbingers, no longer desperate for energy, agreed to peace. 3 weeks later, Olivia now captain of the restored Horizon Dawn, stood on the observation deck beside the hybrid being. They watched as the final stage of the controlled collapse completed. Instead of spreading destruction, the galaxy's remaining light coalesced into a brilliant new star. "It's beautiful," Olivia said softly. The hybrid nodded. "A new beginning." Lisa joined them, now serving as the Alliance's chief scientist for alien biology. "The Lumen are integrating well into human colonies. Their healing abilities have already cured diseases we thought would take decades to solve. And the Harbingers are teaching us how to store energy more efficiently than we ever thought possible. What will you do now?" Olivia asked the hybrid. Being, he turned to her, his light pulsing gently beneath his skin. "There are more threats out there. More defenseless beings who need protection. The lesson of what happened here must spread to every corner of the universe," Lisa smiled. "What lesson is that?" The hybrid looked back at the new star, born from the remains of a dying galaxy. "Never stand between humans and those who cannot stand for themselves." In the months that followed, representatives from dozens of species formed a new coalition, called the Sentinel Accord. Its founding principle, suggested by the hybrid Daniel Radiance, was simple: we protect those who cannot protect themselves. Ships from the Accord patrolled the borders of known space, not to keep others out, but to find those who needed help. The Lumens shared their healing gifts freely, while the Harbingers taught sustainable energy use. Humans provided their unique ability to find solutions where none seemed possible. And at the forefront of these efforts was the being who was once a human commander and a Lumen Elder, a living symbol of what could be achieved when different species worked together instead of against each other. Other galaxies still died, as was the natural order of the universe. But their final echoes were no longer cries of extinction. Instead, they became songs of cooperation, protection, and hope. The hybrid being stood at the edge of another dying galaxy, watching as Accord ships evacuated a newly discovered species. He smiled as the rescued beings boarded the human vessels without fear. "This," he said to himself, his voice still carrying the musical tones of two species joined as one, "is who we truly are."